This is Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey, and I am John.
Mike.
All right, Mike, let's go. Now, our first item up for discussion this evening is what a difference 2 weeks makes in the NHL, Mike. I mean, and let's talk about the very tough Eastern Conference, right? Now, basically, you have 8 teams within 5 points of each other battling for two playoff spots. Now, I made these questions up last night. This was before last night's game, so let's just forget about that. So last time now we talked, Ottawa was in the number 8 spot, and we were feeling pretty good about it. But it's a tough conference, tough division. Now they are ninth, and Columbus has moved into the 8th spot. Detroit has won 7 games in a row. They're 2 points back. The Canadians, they're on fire, 7-2-1 in their last 10 games. I have to admit, I never saw that coming. I don't know if you thought that could even happen.
No.
And lastly, Mike, the Rangers, they are now 500. Look out, they're 4 points back. This should be a very exciting 40 games or so left. Mike, what do you want to say about this playoff race for these two spots? All these teams fighting for two spots, pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's making for good hockey. I mean, all these teams that have a chance to get in are making it some close. Geez, I don't even know where it's going to go at this point because I never would have thought Columbus and Montreal were going to move up. Same as Detroit. I mean, since they made their coaching change, it's made a huge difference. Um,
Right.
Not overly surprised. I mean, they got a veteran coach that came in McClellan to replace Lalonde. So usually the veteran coach is going to get a little bit more, and he's got a little bit more out of some of these the older guys. Like Kane has played much better. DeBrinket's picked his game up. Um, Even on defense, Eric Gustafson has played better as well. So just to get those three guys going made a big difference for them because their other players have still maintained what they were doing. So yeah, it's good to see. It's going to be some good hockey. It's going to give these some of these teams some questions going into the trade deadline to think what they want to do and that sort of thing. Because if they're in contention, I mean the fan base isn't obviously going to be overly happy if they trade guys to drop. But
Right.
and with that being said, some of these teams technically are still in a rebuilding phase, and is it worth getting into the first round of the playoffs and then potentially losing as opposed to getting a good draft pick? So going to be some questions there when it comes down to time to start making some moves.
Now, these teams that I talked about, and the teams that are here, uh, are which team is surprising you the most? Would it be Columbus, maybe,
Oh
or
yeah, absolutely. No way did I think they would be in the position that they're in, but they're getting a production from some guys that have either stepped up or some guys that are filling third line roles that are actually producing points, like Matthew Olivier, who is basically the team goon, but he's played some good hockey. The defense, I mean, it really helps them that Werenski hasn't been hurt this year yet. Because I mean, he's been one of the top defensemen in the NHL right now. So having him play all the games as opposed to previous years where he misses so much time. Um, Plus, I mean, for the forwards, they got Marchenko stepped up his game, so he's a point a game player. Monahan's played well. He's hurt at the moment, but he's played really well. Voronkov has played really well. So, I mean, Kent Johnson, I could keep naming some names, but they're definite, and they get some goal, and have been getting goaltending lately, which is a little surprising. Merzlikins and Tarasov have been playing all right. So they're the surprise as far as I'm concerned.
it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a great last 38, 39, 40 games.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens. And like I said, so many teams vying for two spots. And I still think Tampa might have a shot at not making it. I mean, they're close here. They're not
They've
ahead
got
by a lot.
more games in hand than the other
They
teams. I
do.
think if there's a team that might be a little bit concerning, might be Boston because they've
Right.
been kind of hit or miss. They were on a losing streak there for what 5 games I think or so before they won a game again. So who knows? I mean, and McAvoy's hurt. They've got another defenseman that's hurt, Lindholm. He's hurt. So if there's a team that's in right now that might have to worry about their spot, it might be the Bruins.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go on to our second topic for tonight, and that is Evander Kane and his impact on the Oilers. Now, I kind of want to talk about Kane because I haven't heard a peep about him in a long time because he's injured. Now, Kane says he's going to be back this year for the Oilers. The question is when, and is it better if he sits out until the playoffs to provide cap space for the Oilers this year? Now, Jim Parsons from the Hockey News was asking this very question. I was listening to him. He was talking about it. I thought it was quite interesting. Mike, what do you think about this? Does it matter?
Well, I mean, for the cap space, absolutely. And I don't think you're going to see Evander Kane in the regular season. They just actually recently released some news that he just had to have knee surgery on top of the abdominal surgery that he already had. So now the knee surgery that he just had last week is going to keep him from uh, resuming his training that he was doing to come back from his original injury. So, with that being said, the time frame for the knee is 4 to 6 weeks. So he's going to have to slow down any training he was doing or rehab that he was doing for the abdominal surgery that he had. So that's going to put him back again, which means you're probably not going to see him until the playoffs, which is probably what the Oilers wanted all along, anyways. So this way here, they can go and make some moves now at the deadline. I believe they're going to want to pick up another defenseman and maybe another depth forward. We'll see what happens there, but they'll definitely put the cap space to use.
But wouldn't it be better, perhaps, for if Kane could play some games to get in some sort of game shape for
Yeah,
the playoffs? I mean, he has been valuable in the playoffs in the past.
yeah. No, I agree. To get some games in towards the end of the season would be, best case scenario. However, even I don't even know if he would be ready by the end of the season as it is with the surgeries that he's had to have. So, but yeah, ideally, yeah, playing some games down the stretch, like even if it's a handful of games, would be a benefit. But not sure we're going to see that.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll keep an eye on it anyway. See if he makes his return to the Oilers and if he makes a difference. Maybe he just doesn't have enough playing time to make a difference. But we'll see. So let's go on to the third topic. Now that is the Nashville Predators. And what are they going to do? Unlike the Rangers, Mike, Nashville is not anywhere near 500. Are they going to be sellers, Mike? Now I'm guessing that they are going to be. I know Barry Trotz has already been busy and made some moves. How busy is he going to be? And is there just going to be a bunch of players that want to get the hell out of there now? What do you think?
Well, I definitely think they're going to be sellers. To what extent is a good question. I mean, they still have a lot of their core guys locked up. So, I mean, a name that's been talked about is Ryan O'Reilly. And I'm sure that there's teams that would love to acquire him for the playoffs. So, um, as far as anything else, I think it might be some depth pieces that might get moved around, but I think they're going to be selling at the deadline. But if anybody moves, I think O'Reilly will be the biggest piece. I don't really see any of the other top guys going anywhere. It's just based off of what their contracts are, and Nashville is probably more thinking that this is just one bad season, and next year they'll be back at it. So I think for the most part they'll just be trying to trade off some of their spare parts, um, and perhaps O'Reilly would be the other one.
So you don't think they're going to really dig into the core here,
No, I
or you
don't.
don't think that, or you don't think any of them is going to, or they'll want out?
I think it's both. I don't think that they're going to necessarily want out, and I don't think they're going to try to trade any of the core guys. So I think they're still going to want to build around them and retool and try to get a competitive team that can make the playoffs next year. Because even this year, it's still surprising that where they're at, because
I
I don't
know their
think
record is awful.
nobody would have seen this coming. So,
Okay. Well, let's go on to our fourth topic, and that's injuries in the league and their impact. Now, we've talked a little bit about some players that have been moving or maybe could move in the league, but I want to know, Mike, is how injuries could impact what teams do for player movement. Are there any teams or players that you think could be moved or you're looking for them to move?
well, I mean, I think that based off of where they are in the standings, and I never would have thought that Vancouver is going to entertain trading either Pedersen or Miller, but it looks like that they may. I mean, Pedersen's been hurt, so Miller has also missed time due to the personal leave he went on. So both of those things have really, hurt the Canucks as far as having a full team out there.
Right.
Hronek's been
And
hurt, Demko's been hurt. So I think the injuries have impacted the Canucks the most out of any team, because I would have thought at this point they'd be in a solid playoff position, and right now they're not even in the wild card spot. They're behind Calgary, so I still think Vancouver is going to get in the playoffs. However, the road there is not going to be as easy as what I thought it would have been prior to the season starting.
they have not played well lately. That is for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mike. Well, let's go on to our hockey profit questions where you are the hockey prophet. And I've got some questions here I'm going to ask you in rapid fire response. And I do have my
Oh,
timer ready tonight. I
holy
made
cow!
sure. So, Mike, are you ready to be the hockey prophet? And I want to tell you right now, the last one is kind of long. So let me get it all out and then you'll
Okay.
be ready. Okay. So you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, is the Las Vegas Golden Knights the team to beat right now in the West?
Hmm. Yeah. I would say they are right now at this moment.
Okay. Number two, Steve Lorenz was practicing with Matthews and Marner the other day. Will he play a game on the line with those two? Or is. Oh, and by the way, Mike, Lorenz has 9 points in 44 games this year.
He may get a little playing time with them, but it's not something that's going to stick.
Okay, number three. What team do you believe is more likely to finish last in the NHL this year? Chicago, who has 30 points, San Jose has 32, and Nashville has 33. Those are the bottom three.
I gotta say Chicago probably is going to be the team that finishes last, but it's going to be close between them and San Jose. I still think Nashville will finish ahead of them.
Okay, number four. Which team is hotter right now in the East? Montreal, Detroit, or Columbus? And I noticed both Montreal and Columbus won last night.
Yeah, well, I would say Columbus. They're the most surprising and unexpected one out of the three. If I was analyzing the three teams.
Okay, and finally, Mike, number five, and I'm sure you'll be glad when this is all over with. The Flyers played the other night against the Ducks, those horrible Ducks jerseys, just terrible. And Cutter Gauthier was booed by the crowd because he wouldn't sign a few years ago with the Flyers. Does any of this matter to the players, Mike? Your coach says it does not. I saw John Tortorelli on there. He goes, this doesn't matter. Did the players care about any of this?
Absolutely, they do. I mean, they've got to be feel like they're being kind of shafted by him as well. Like if he says he doesn't want to play there, then I would take it personally if I were them. So, and being at the game live, I can tell you that they did, because let me tell you, they hit him every chance they had. Konechny, Ristolainen, even Mitchkov hit him. So, which drew the ire of Radko Gudas, who then got kicked out of the game shortly thereafter. Um, and the other thing too, the fans were merciless on him. Like every time he was on the ice, he was booed. They were saying Cutter, like "F Cutter." All every time he was on the ice, it didn't matter. Like his whole shift, they chanted at him the whole shift, and then they were chanting "Jamie's better." because they got Jamie Benn
Yes.
trade for him. Uh,
Right. Is he?
and he looked terrified, to be honest with you.
So I knew you were at the game, and I did not see the game, but I read about this, and I'm like, oh, I have to ask Mike this question. I just have to. He can give us an update of what it was actually like when you were there. So
Yeah.
I thought it would be a good one to lay out there for the last one. So
Oh, the game was awesome. I loved it. 6-0, lots of goals, lots of hits. It was a very physical game. People people were commenting that this is the best game they've seen the Flyers play in years, and I'm not surprised because for me, not just being there but watching them on TV, I agree. It's been the best game they've played in years. Like they did everything. They back checked, they forward checked, they hit, they passed the puck well, did not make any bad turnovers. Like it was one of the best games. And I get it that it's the Ducks and the Ducks are not a strong team, but the Flyers dominated. If the Flyers could play that way against every team, they'd have a chance to be making the playoffs here. And I mean, mind you, they're still not far out. However,
they still have a chance.
yeah, technically they do, but realistically, I don't see it happening. But if they did, great. I mean, and like you said, Tortorella goes on. It doesn't matter, and his interviews that he gives, it's like, oh, it's you guys, the media, that are creating this to be a story, and
That's what he said. Yes.
exactly. But it definitely matters. Konechny was chirping him and all that through the game. Um, and the Flyers' whole team was productive. Like the guys that don't score many goals were scoring. Like Paling scored, um, Hathaway scored. Who else scored? They spread the scoring out quite well. Like Drysdale scored, Mitchkov had a goal. So Konechny played great. He had 4 assists. So yeah, I mean, it was a great game to be at. Let me tell you, the fans just were relentless. I almost felt bad for them, but not quite.
Well, I'm sure you didn't. I wouldn't believe if you told me you
Yeah.
did. I wouldn't believe you.
And before the game, security was taking away some signs that the fans had made regarding cut or go with the A's.
Oh, Jones.
And some of them happened right in front of us. There, they took away a sign that said "Cutter is as soft as toilet paper." They took that and a couple other ones. So,
Uh,
but yeah, no, it was awesome. I mean, it was the highlight game of the trip. So, but
well, I bet you're glad you made that game.
oh,
You would
definitely,
you would
yeah.
have been upset if you would have come home a day early and didn't see that one.
Well, that's the whole. That particular game was the main game we wanted to see on the trip. So the other games were planned as well. However, the Flyers didn't play as great. They played okay against Toronto, but they were terrible against Dallas. So
Well, yeah, and Toronto played terrible against Dallas last night, and I was going to say the Flyers needed that win. They
yeah,
really needed that win.
absolutely, yeah,
So I believe they're what, one game under 500. I think it's one game under.
yeah. They're pretty close. I mean, they got a point last night. They lost to Columbus in a shootout. So
Yeah,
shootout
well,
or overtime, whichever. I think it was overtime. Now that I think about it, so.
right. Okay. Well, Mike, you answered those questions in about 2 minutes, a little under, so that's pretty good. Now, is there anything else you wanted to say in tonight's episode?
Uh, no, I mean, I'm still just kind of getting back on track from being away all week, so it's nothing I can think of right off the top of my head. So I still got to get caught up on. I still got to unpack for one, uh, and then still go
Take
through
care of
some of
all
the.
your pools.
Yeah, well, I was able to do a little bit of it when I was there, but not too much. So
All right. Well, like, share, and subscribe, folks, and let us know in the comments where we went wrong. And we'll see you next week. Later.
later.